Once there was a postman named Dano who had delivered letters on the same road for 15 years without changing a single thing. He left his house at 7:30 every morning. He cycled the same route in the same order. He stopped at the same houses at the same times. He drank tea at the same stall at the same corner at exactly 9:15. By noon he was done, and by 12:30 he was home for lunch. This had happened every working day for 15 years without variation, and Dano was perfectly happy. His wife said once that the pigeons on their street had a more varied life than Dano. He said this was not a problem. Now at the very end of Dano's route, on a small lane called Fig Lane, there was a house that had been empty for 2 years. Then one morning, Dano cycled down Fig Lane and found a wall. It was a new wall freshly built, right across the end of the lane, where the path continued to the last 4 houses on his route. The new owner of the empty house had built it overnight, or near enough overnight, to mark his boundary. It was a solid wall, well made, going nowhere. Dano stopped his bicycle and looked at the wall. Then he looked at his bag. He had 4 letters for the houses on the other side. He cycled back to the main road and around the long way to reach those 4 houses. It added 20 minutes to his route. He arrived home at 12:50 instead of 12:30, and his lunch was cold. He told his wife about the war for the entire meal. The next morning he went to complain to the new owner. The man opened his door. He was a large, cheerful man named Baris, who had just moved from another city. "The wall is on my land," said Baris pleasantly. "The path goes through there," said Dano. "Not any more," said Baris, still pleasantly. Dano looked at him. Baris looked at Dano. Baris offered him tea. Dano declined and cycled away. At every house on his route that morning, Dano mentioned the wall. He mentioned it at the school teacher's house and at the doctor's house and at the sweet shop and at the tea stall at 9:15. Everyone listened politely. Nobody could do anything about it. The detour added 20 minutes every day. For a man who had done the same thing for 15 years, 20 minutes felt like an hour. He complained about the wall to his wife every evening. She listened for 3 days and then began reading her book when he started, which he did not notice because he was talking about the wall. The detour took him down a road he had never cycled on before. It was called River Road, and it ran along the edge of a small river that Dano had not known was there. On the 3rd day, cycling fast and annoyed, he noticed a smell. It was the smell of very good food. He slowed down. There was a small stall on River Road. A woman was cooking at it. The smell was coming from a large pot on her fire. Dano did not stop. He was already late because of the wall. On the 4th day, he smelled it again. He slowed down again. He could see the stall clearly now. It was a very small operation. 1 pot, 1 woman, 4 plastic chairs. The woman was perhaps 60 years old with gray hair and the focused expression of someone who is doing something they have done for a long time and are still paying attention to. He did not stop. He was late. On the 5th day, he stopped. "What are you cooking?" he said. "Dal," said the woman. Her name, as he found out later, was Sura. "What kind of dal?" She gave him a small bowl. He tasted it standing next to his bicycle. He stood there for a moment after tasting it. "How much?" he said. He sat on one of the 4 plastic chairs and ate a full bowl. He was late getting home. His wife noticed immediately, because Dano was never late. "The wall," she said, not looking up from her book. "There is a doll stall on River Road," said Dano. She looked up. "The detour takes me past it," said Dano. His wife put her book down. In 15 years of marriage, she had never heard Dano mention any food outside their house, with that particular tone of voice. "How is it?" she said. "Come on Sunday," said Dano. She came on Sunday. She sat on one of the 4 plastic chairs and ate Sura's dal and did not say anything for a while. This was unusual. Dano's wife always had something to say. "Dano," she said finally. "Yes," said Dano. "The wall is a good thing." Dano thought about the 20 extra minutes every day. He thought about the cold lunches and the long way around and the 5 mornings of cycling fast and annoyed past a smell he was trying to ignore. He looked at his bowl. "The wall is a terrible thing," he said. "That has accidentally become a good thing." "Yes," said his wife. "That is what I said." On Monday morning, Dano left his house at 7:30 as usual. He cycled his route in the same order as usual. He stopped at the same houses at the same times. But at 9:15, he did not stop at the tea stall on the corner. He cycled to River Road instead, and sat on one of Sura's 4 plastic chairs and had dal and tea. He got back on his bicycle at 9:40 and finished his route at 12:50. 12:50 was now his new usual time. It had taken him 2 weeks to stop noticing the difference. 3 months later, Barris, the new owner, came out of his house one morning, just as Dano was cycling past. "Postman," he called. Dano stopped. "I heard you were upset about the wall," said Barris. "I was," said Dano. "And now." Dano thought about this. He thought about River Road and the smell and the 4 plastic chairs and his wife putting her book down. "Now I am not," said Dano. Barris looked pleased. He was still a large, cheerful man, and he looked exactly the way large, cheerful men look when something they built turns out to be fine. "Good," he said. "I was going to offer to put a gate in it if you still needed to get through." Dano looked at the wall. Then he looked at the road that went around it and down to River Road and along the river and back up to the last 4 houses. "No gate," said Dano. Barris blinked. "No gate. The wall is fine," said Dano. "Leave it." He cycled on. Barris stood at his wall and watched the postman disappear around the corner, which was not the corner he had taken for 15 years, but which was now without question the right corner. Sura had a fresh pot on when he arrived. She did not need to ask what he wanted. She gave him his bowl and his tea, and he sat on his chair, the second one from the left, which was now also his usual chair, and ate his breakfast in the sun by the river. It was, as it was every morning, very good.